Today I wanted to talk about how you can find more details on the emails you received. So I collected a couple examples. Let's click on this Century 21 to begin. Now I've got my standard email up here. You'll see there's a little unsubscribe link. This is actually something that Gmail and G Suite customers have as a default sometimes. Basically, Google has figured out how to unsubscribe from this particular mailer and has made it a one-step process if you would just like to click unsubscribe. However, like most emails, you've probably figured out at the very bottom there is an option to unsubscribe or opt out. Sometimes people are concerned about this because they've heard that you shouldn't unsubscribe because that just confirms your email is good and sells it to a bunch of other people. That did used to be the case. That is no longer something that you need to be concerned with, specifically with people that are giving you this opt-out option. You know, when someone is offering an unsubscribe button, that's usually there to give you a way to stop receiving things. That's not generally a malicious thing. The things you don't want to reply to and say, I want out of this, take me off your list, are things that feel like actual spam. Offers for cheap prescription drugs, promises of money from foreign princes, that kind of thing. You don't want to respond to those at all, but newsletters like this with all these company details at the bottom and a nice opt-out or unsubscribe button, those are just fine. And when you unsubscribe, that will lower the amount of email you get if you don't like getting email from this company. You can also see down here we have info about Eventbrite because this email was actually sent by Eventbrite. Eventbrite is doing the registration for this event, and so this is where the email came from. You can see the details for that company down here. It does say it was sent by Century 21 via Eventbrite. So that's kind of letting you know, you see the Century 21 logo, you see their name at the top. Now, if I were to click this button here, I can see the details. All email services provide these details. Some of them show all or part of them by default. Many of them have little buttons like this where they kind of hide them until you want to see them, because most of the time you don't need to see this information. But you can see here, this says it's from Century 21 Northwest, but it's actually from invite@eventbrite.com. Eventbrite is the service that sent this. So someone at Century 21 probably logged into their Eventbrite account and sent it from there. Now, if I reply, it actually goes to Madison at pipelineplatform.com. So that's probably someone who's managing this event, somehow answering questions. Can give me details on the date, exactly what it was sent to, which is helpful if you have multiple email aliases. And down here you'll see this mailed by and signed by. Those are the credentials of the email. The way email works, a suspicious person can't just blindly send things to your email without saying anything about themselves. So when you see this mailed by, signed by, those are the credentials that your email service, in this case Google, required before it was even going to accept an email to deliver to you. Let's move on to our next one. So this is a newsletter from one of our agents, Rick. You can see if I go send details, I see Remax Rick up here at the top. That's his email, but it says via systememerge.com. You might see this a lot. This is actually the standard way most newsletters go out. There's nothing weird or suspicious about this. All this means is that Rick is using a different company to make and manage and send out his email than his actual email. So his newsletter is going through this company. That's not necessarily coming straight from his email. He didn't compose this beautiful picture HTML with all these links in his email client. Most people wouldn't. So there's nothing strange about that. The reason I tell you about this is that if you saw something like this on an email that was making you a little suspicious otherwise, it would be a huge red flag. So if you see something like this on an email that is asking you for password information, has links or attachments that you weren't expecting, maybe seems a bit off for any reason, I would be very suspicious about seeing a via up here, because it does mean that whoever's up here, it wasn't this email specifically that sent it. But you can see the reply to is Remax Rick, is Rick's email. And you've got down here the signed by credentials. If I scroll down, I can see his whole email newsletter. And at the bottom, we've got the details. So he's got his company info here and the opt-out details here. And you can actually see at the bottom, this is provided by eMerge. So you can actually see the company that he uses to do this. And I could even click on them and see their website, see a bit about what they do. So if I like the emails that I've been getting from Rick, I think they're very well put together. I think they're very pretty. I like them. I'd like to do something similar. I can click down here and see the company that he's using and how they work, look at their pricing. On to this Contactually one. Now the Contactually one, you'll notice, is a bit different up here. It's not saying via, even though I'm sure that Contactually sent this through their own platform, because they send everything through their own platform. They are a CRM. As a Contactually customer, I know that one of the features they have is the ability to interface the program directly with your email. So when you send emails through Contactually, they actually do go through your email, which is why when you look down here, it's signed by Contactually.com. And it's the from is them, the reply is them. It's a very nice personal touch. Because it really stands out as being just your email. And so certain campaigns are kind of nice to have this, it's exactly from me, no one else aspect to them. It does limit the number of emails that you can send in one day because of spam rules. Now, if we go to the bottom, you can see the Contactually details as always, including the opt-out preferences. One more, just to give you some variety. This one's Maynard. You see once again the via, because Maynard's using an outside company for his newsletters. Totally normal. Most people do it. Very expected. You can see the mailed by and signed by credentials here, and it's even giving you a direct unsubscribe right there. You can see his whole newsletter put together, and down at the bottom we can see this actually came through MailChimp. So MailChimp is a company that does a lot of newsletters for a lot of different industries, and this is who he's working with. And you can see all of his company details here at the bottom along with the MailChimp info. If you're suspicious about an email and you don't see things like that, that is another red flag. Things like copyright information, an actual mailing address, or contact info at the bottom of an email is something that legitimate companies almost always do. And certainly companies like MailChimp services always require of their customers, or they at least put their own details in there. It's a way of confirming, hey, I'm a real company, a real business. I'm not some mysterious spammer trying to get your bank info. I'm just trying to share you this newsletter. So things like this are actually a very good sign at the bottom of an email. And of course, you've got your unsubscribe preferences. So I hope those helped a little bit, give you some idea of how you can look up more details on emails you get. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments.